As of today, it has been a week and a half since I've gotten a good night's sleep, and it feels like it's been months. I am really struggling, whether it's not being able to fall asleep when I get into bed, waking up super early, not sleeping through the night, you name it, I've got it. And I have been lovingly referring to this moment as a sleep regression, honestly, because I've been hearing the term a lot lately. A year ago, I never would have reached for it. But in the last year, some people I follow on the internet, a friend or two, have had babies. And sleep regressions, apparently, are very common among babies. And I figured the definition was in the name, but one night when I couldn't sleep, I decided to actually look it up. And it turns out that babies will stop sleeping through the night or stop sleeping on their regular sleep schedule when their brains are cooking up a new skill or they're going through a developmental milestone or a developmental breakthrough. These are big deals and they come with a lot of frustration because babies in sleep, I think that's a match made in heaven. But also, they're scary, I think. They're moments where it looks like things are starting to move backward. And that's kind of how I've been feeling. Not like I'm never going to sleep well again, but like suddenly I'm struggling with something that is so much simpler and more basic than everything else that I'm struggling with right now. And it feels like I don't have time to be not sleeping well, something that should be innate, maybe? I don't know. But either way, it turns out that my initial definition was kind of lacking, right? Because these aren't just moments of disturbed sleep patterns, right? These are huge moments, critical moments of development in babies. They need these. It's really important for them to develop into the people that they're becoming. And right then and there, in the middle of the night, scrolling through Google search results, I realized that I had fallen victim to the re. And as an astrologer, I felt a little bad about this because I'm constantly warning people about this because the re in regression or in retrograde doesn't just mean backward, even though that's how it feels a lot of the time. So, with a few extra hours to kill in the middle of the night in my apartment, I obviously kept digging. Because something about my immediate assumptions and my immediate understanding of these sleep regressions just made a lot of sense to me. And obviously, babies are human, but the concept just felt so human. It's actually pretty common in my life for previously mastered things to fall victim to the needs of my newest focus. And now, obviously, this is all based on a really shallow understanding of the concept. And maybe it's the ADHD, but this just made so much sense to me. Every time I'm trying to level up in my life or change something in my relationships, take my work a step further, I feel like the most basic qualities and aspects of my life take a hit. Food is harder, sleep is harder, my routines are harder. It seems like it can be easy to regress in these really natural and basic ways, especially when it comes to taking care of myself, when I'm trying to reach the next level or develop something new in my life. What if, as adults, we're still navigating a reality where new stages and skills require a certain period of time where we may seem to be getting worse at things? Moments where we're struggling more with our basic tasks and where the systems of life just feel more challenging and difficult. These moments can often feel really discouraging and kind of hopeless until we come out on the other side realizing that that whole time we were working on getting where we are right now. I ask this in part out of hope, in part out of the certainty of observation, and in part out of desperation, because I often feel like I am just an overgrown baby, except rather than being a baby who was my parents' responsibility, I'm now somehow the parent of the baby that I am. What sealed the deal for me in terms of this growing theory was a video that I came across when I was scrolling through TikTok again in the middle of the night. And it was a new mom who was talking about how it had been such a long time since she had gotten a good night's sleep and she was really on the edge for a minute. But the string of sleepless nights led to crawling on the kitchen floor one morning, and suddenly it was all worth it. She was elated and so proud. It turns out there really was no regression to speak of. It was all progress, even when it didn't look that way, even when it didn't feel that way. Frustration is acknowledged here. But the backward movement was an illusion. Very real in the moment, but not actually undermining progress at all, aiding it, a part of it, a natural cyclical part of it, just like a planetary retrograde. We've gotten far enough into this now that I have to tell you what a retrograde is, in case you don't know. When a planet is said to be retrograde, it appears to be moving backward from our perspective here on Earth. It's not actually, it's just due to the different relative speeds that we and that planet are each moving around the sun. Like trains moving at different speeds can create the illusion that one is moving backward, so can planets. In astrology, planetary retrogrades are said to be moments where we need to find new and innovative ways of relating to the planetary archetypes and themes because it's not business as usual. We can't really expect those planets to be operating in the way that they would when they're moving direct. So we have to find different ways of relating to them. Because of this, retrogrades can get a pretty bad reputation. You may hear people fret about Mercury retrograde as it relates to their disrupted commutes, their technological issues, travel delays, or inconvenient and unexpected changes that need to be made to something that was previously thought of as solid. You might hear people point to the prominent breakups, money issues, and creative blocks that come up during Venus retrogrades, or even the lack of motivation and increased frustration that can show up when Mars is retrograde. In fact, you might have been hearing a bit about all of this because in the first 4 months of 2025, we get the great privilege of experiencing retrogrades for all three of these planets. And of course, I'm being facetious when I say that because even I, an astrologer, who will claim till I am blue in the face that transits are never out to get us and it is all just a reflection of the energies we're experiencing here on Earth, will admit that retrogrades, particularly the retrogrades of the personal planets Mercury, Venus, and Mars, can be quite annoying. All planets have their own schedules. They retrograde at different frequencies and for different lengths of time. But these retrograde periods, particularly those of Mercury, Venus, and Mars, tend to be more internal times, times that may require a bit more self reflection from us. When external things feel really out of control and unpredictable, it can be helpful to turn your time and effort toward things that feel more personal and more impactful, which can often be things that are more associated with you, things you actually have a say in. But also, when nothing is working the way that it should be, we need to put a little bit more into our self care, tending to the hurt that comes up with canceled plans or the stress that accompanies a rising ETA when you're already late, the frustration of rephrasing your point for the 10th time in an unnecessary argument because neither of you can seem to let it go. It's annoying when things don't go as planned, and in a lot of ways, retrogrades are reminding us of this fact. Not to be difficult, but because it is a reality of the systems that we are and the systems that we exist within. Sometimes we need to regress to move forward, or rather, sometimes it looks like we're regressing while we're moving forward. Like I said, in the first 4 months of 2025, we get to experience all three personal planets retrograde. Mars retrograde is the longest, and it began back on December 6th of 2024, and Mars stationed direct on February 23rd of 2025. Venus stationed retrograde on March 1st and will station direct on April 12th. Mercury stationed retrograde on March 14th and will station direct on April 7th. And with their overlapping shadow periods, these retrogrades are carrying us back from October of 2024 all the way into mid-May of this year. And this is where my new obsession with sleep regressions goes from something that I learn about in the middle of the night to something that I feel could be helpful to you. Because I think there are ways we could use sleep regressions and understanding of this very human thing that happens as early as what, like 3, 4 months old, to understand ways of handling these periods. Would it help us to navigate retrogrades if we thought about them more like sleep regressions? If we thought about them as more temporary and systemic, but also as giving us the ability to shift some of our resources from the more typical to something amorphous that's growing inside of us? I have no doubt we are all cooking up something phenomenal, but maybe we need a little bit of time to review some of the steps that we've already taken. And if I can take it one step further, maybe some of these pricklier retrograde periods, because they're not all impacting us equally, are actually helping to nudge us in the direction of engaging with one of the less thought of words when it comes to retrogrades. And that's reparenting. Because while parents are the ones that I hear talking about sleep regressions, and don't get me wrong, they're obviously going through it, they're not actually the ones experiencing the sleep regressions. Their babies are. In fact, these parents are actually one of the most important critical resources that these sleep regressing babies have access to during these moments of heightened development. Maybe during these retrograde periods that feel like they're particularly hounding us, the ones that come at moments when we're really reliant on the typical, the reliable, and the linear, the ones that are tightly configured in our birth charts. Maybe those retrogrades are moments where, more than anything else, we need a gentle hand to tell us that everything's going to be okay. Someone who loves us more than anything else in the world. Someone who can help us to navigate these moments with kindness, compassion, and support. Maybe what we need is a parent. The parents that our sleep regressing babies require. So by this point, you've probably gathered that I think there are some conceptual things we can take from our understanding of sleep regressions that we can apply to planetary regressions, right? There are ways that we can understand this on a more systemic level that can help us to take some of the pressure off of the desire and the perceived need to move in a linear direction at times when linearity really isn't available to us. So, how would one manage a sleep regression? According to Google's AI generated summary, to manage a sleep regression, maintain a consistent bedtime routine, create a calming sleep environment, and be responsive to your baby's needs while encouraging self soothing. And remember that it's a temporary phase. But obviously, I was hoping to dig a little bit deeper. But here's where it gets tricky because I am not a parent, and navigating parenting advice is overwhelming at best. At the very least, parenting advice is very, very personal. And I have no context for parsing through articles about sleep regressions or anything about infants for that matter. So I turned to the people of Reddit. In the Reddit thread r/sleep train, there were tons of parents providing support and advice and questions about how to navigate sleep regressions that show up throughout pretty much the first 2 years of their babies' lives. In this thread, I found a wide range of advice. Some parents insisted that the only reason they survived periods of sleep regressions were because they split the day shift and the night shift with their partners. Many parents echoed the sentiment to try not to worry too much because it's temporary and the worry can do more damage than the sleep regression itself. Some parents thought it was really important to point out that not all babies experience sleep regressions the same way and not to build it up in your head before you experience what it's actually like. Several parents reiterated how important it was to lower your expectations of yourself during these times to lower the pressure. A few parents said that no matter how tempting it is for your baby to put themselves to sleep, if they need to be rocked, it's okay to rock them. Many parents highlighted the importance of leaning on the community you do have in ways that feel welcomed and supportive and good. My favorite comment, and one with many, many upvotes, was simply the phrase, "It's not a problem. it's a phase. So that's what I'm going to tell you. It's not a problem, it's a phase. This is just one part of the cyclical nature of things. Whether it's a retrograde or a regression, we're not going backward. We're just in a backward appearing moment of the forward progressing cycle. And maybe at these backward moments, we need and deserve to have someone in our corner. So if I can't sleep again tonight, then maybe I will turn back toward Reddit and try out some of the suggestions of the new parents. Or maybe I'll spend the time dreaming about the new skills that I might be developing. But if all else fails, then I can use the time to consider some of the re words that can go along with retrograde and regression. Some of my favorite re words include revise, recreate, rejuvenate, and renew. But here's a list of many re words for you to consider. But if nothing else, because we still have a little bit more time in this retrograde moment, I hope that this can help you to recontextualize the way that you're thinking about these retrogrades, how they're showing up in your life, and what to make of the annoyances that might be coming along with them. Because what could a retrograde be if it's actually helping you to walk your way, crawl your way, dance your way into the next phase?